Alright guys, what's going on? This is Ben Hersick back with another episode of the Armchair Armdrager podcast. There's a lot to cover this week. We got the Best of the Super Juniors update. We have the final one because there's only 2 nights left of the whole tournament. We have the WWE Tag Team issue, where there's a lot of teams, but nobody understands what's going on and why they're not being used. A Double or Nothing review. We have the Takeover 25 predictions. And I also do want to cover the issue of a bunch of wrestlers leaving WWE at one time. But before any of that, quickly, I do have to do this every week. The social media is where you can follow me. I have a Twitter at ChurroSolider. I have spelled it out for 3 weeks in a row. Hopefully you remember it by now. Uh, You can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair on Twitter. And if you didn't know, I write articles for All Things Combat. All Things Combat is a website that covers pro wrestling, UFC/MMA, and boxing. This past week, I put out a article introducing you to the AEW roster because there's a lot of names on there people probably have never heard of before, and you could find your new favorite there. So definitely give that a read. I do a mostly weekly article called How Did They Get Here? I skipped last week because of Double or Nothing. Also poor time management on my part, but oh well. I also have a few plans for in-depth articles in the future, but that's just a little tease. Okay, so you can follow the website on Twitter at Things Combat. So now all the housekeeping notes are out of the way. Let's dive quickly into the Best of the Super Juniors update. There are 3 wrestlers left alive. In B Block, you have Will Ospreay and Ryusuke Taguchi. They just finished this morning B Block action for the day. Taguchi won the main event over El Phantasmo, and Will Ospreay won against Doki. So mathematically, they're the only 2 left that can win the block. Even if they tie, they'll have 13. The most Phantasmo, Robbie Eagles, Yo, and Bushi can get is 12 points. And if Ospreay and Taguchi go to the time limit, it's 13. Taguchi does have the tiebreaker with his win. No, Ospreay has the tiebreaker with his win over Bandito, where Taguchi lost to Bandito. The winner of B Block is going to face Shingo Takagi. Shingo Takagi has clinched the block. The only way something could go wrong is if he gets injured against Ishimori tomorrow. I don't think it's going to happen. I really hope it doesn't happen if it is even a chance. But Takagi is going to the finals. Even if Ishimori beats him, the only thing with that is Ishimori does not have the tiebreaker over Takagi. Takagi's only loss would be to Ishimori. Ishimori lost to Yoshinobu Kanemaru, who Shingo Takagi beat. So there's no way for Ishimori to win the block. Shingo has clinched it at this point. Throughout the whole tournament, I'm only up to night 7. I just finished it. Ospreay versus Phantasmo was fantastic. They made a star that night in Phantasmo. And throughout the whole tournament, you could see New Japan is behind El Phantasmo, Robbie Eagles, Sho, Yo, Rocky Romero, and Jonathan Gresham. Those guys have looked great in every single match. We forget how good of a wrestler Rocky Romero can be because he's so busy being the manager of Sho and Yo as Roppongi 3K. Also, I kind of think I can see this happening. I could see Yo winning tomorrow over whoever he has. I should really remember this stuff if I'm going to talk about it. Yo has Robbie Eagles. I actually have I have Yo picked to beat Robbie Eagles. And I could see Sho losing to Jonathan Gresham somehow, some way. And then we could see a story going with, Yo is better than Sho. Yo did better in the Best of the Super Juniors. That drives Sho, and Sho attacks or turns on Rocky and Yo, breaking up Roppongi 3K. And then Sho can go on his own, and we could see him become junior heavyweight champion within a year. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I would love to see it. Sho has looked fantastic in this tournament against everybody. Yo's had great moments too. Romero's just a really solid wrestler. Gresham, with his catch style wrestling. Might be the slickest junior heavyweight outside of Zack Sabre Jr. Phantasmo and Eagles have looked great. I'm curious. I've heard reports about it and like little things going back and forth, where Phantasmo and Eagles aren't getting along in Bullet Club. I could see a story possibly playing out where Robbie Eagles leaves Bullet Club because of Phantasmo. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I could see it. I've also been impressed in this tournament with Bushi. Bushi has looked great. He's beaten his average. His average was 7 points in the tournament. He's got 10 right now. And tomorrow night he faces... Not tomorrow. In a few days he faces Ren Narita. It is so tempting to pick Ren Narita in this match. The reason behind it is simple. You have a young lion who's pretty much ready to go on excursion, I think at least, and a lot of other people think. But you look at it, I'm not sure if he's going to go yet. So the way the New Japan Young Lion system works, they start off with the basic black trunk, black boots, no knee pads, no elbow pads, no kick pads. You look at Narita throughout the tournament, he's had one knee pad. You look at Shota Unuma, who's another young lion everybody thinks is ready to go on excursion, he's got two. So you start to wonder, are they just not ready yet, or do they think that they need a little more seasoning and development? It could also just be them saying we don't want to wear the elbow pads, we don't want to wear the kick pads. It could just be that. I'm not sure, but I think Narita will be great on excursion. And there's another question. I'm gonna say this one now, and I'll talk about it again when we get to the Double or Nothing review. What's next for Marty Scurll? Just think about that. Let's leave that question hanging in the air and circle back to it when we get to Double or Nothing. Also in this tournament, I already talked about Ren Narita. I've been impressed with Doki. We came into this tournament knowing nothing about Doki. I found 2 matches on YouTube to do even any research on this guy. He looked good, and they were tag team matches. I have never seen him in a singles match before his match with Ren Narita. He looked good. He is a good wrestler. He's not the best junior heavyweight. He's solid though. He's a good enough wrestler. He's not good enough's not the right term. He's there to get the job done, and he looks good doing it. I really hope they actually sign Doki to a contract. He would work really well in Suzuki-gun. There's so many stables in New Japan. There's not. There's like 4. Bullet Club, Chaos, Suzuki-gun, and Takuchi Japan. And LIJ, 5. I don't count Seki-gun as much, but that's neither here nor there. In that way, you could have Taka just stay with Zack Sabre Jr., and Taka doesn't have to wrestle as much, especially with this recent injury for him, which had forced him to withdraw from the tournament. It would be a good idea for Michinoku to not wrestle many matches. Then you could have Desperado go off and do his thing as the singles junior heavyweight for Suzuki-gun, and you can have Kanemaru and Doki wrestle in the junior tag division. I can see it working. I don't know if it will. I don't know how the New Japan officials or higher-ups feel about Doki. It would be nice to see him get a spot, though. I'd like to see it. And I put this question on Twitter. I haven't gotten an answer yet. People are curious about it, too, it seems. Since the best of the Super Juniors went from 16 to 20 wrestlers this year, does the G1 Climax follow suit and expand from 20 wrestlers? I'd like to see it go to 24. I think that would be a good area. You'd have 12 wrestlers in each block, and you could even get 4 guys who are ready to show the world what they got. And you look at from last year, I know Kenny Omega's not in it this year. Chris Jericho's not going to be in it. I'm trying to think. I think Togi Makabe said that last year was his last G1 Climax, and he wants to make room for younger guys. Tanahashi doesn't have many left. But other than that, it's probably going to be pretty much the same field. Another curious one I have is Tomohiro Ishii. How many he might have left. I know Taichi probably will get a spot this year. He might be the one to replace Omega. Finley's another name. David Finley's a name I've seen thrown out for the G1. But that's in a couple weeks. I think we should be getting... We might get it like 2 days after Dominion, which is on the 9th. Very no, not many matches are announced yet. We're still waiting for the end of the Best of the Super Juniors to even have the Junior Heavyweight Championship match announced. Um, Junior tags will probably be on the line. Moxley, that was another thing. John Moxley showed up in New Japan via a promo package, which was kind of annoying to me. You're hyping up this guy. Nobody knows who he is. It's a guy with a biker jacket, and it says, I want to say it says like Death Rider on it. I don't remember the exact word. And he's got the Union Jack flag on it. He has the UK flag. And everyone's like, oh, he's from the British independent scene. It could be Ridgeway. It could be Brooks. It could be Finley. And it actually does work because if you look at the UK flag, it combines Scotland and the Northern Ireland flag along with the British flag. You have the red and white of Britain. You have the blue and white of Scotland. Northern Ireland's also red and white, so it could work that way. I don't know how Wales is involved in it, but I'm not a geography flag guy. But oh well. And it was revealed to be Moxley, an American wearing a Union Jack. 2 and 2 does not equal 5, guys. I would have loved to see. I'm happy to see Moxley in New Japan, but I would like to see somebody new, somebody who hasn't had a shot like Moxley has had yet. We all know what Moxley can do. I mean, yeah, Brooks is technically a junior heavyweight, and so is Ridgeway. Plus, Ridgeway has Pro Wrestling Noah Junior Tag League or whatever it's called. I feel bad I don't know the name, and I love Ridgeway as a wrestler. He's got that to look forward to, so they kind of don't work out that way because it's for Juice Robinson's IWGP US title, which is a heavyweight title. So, who knows? That's enough on the Best of the Super Juniors in New Japan real quick. In 2 weeks, we'll probably have a G1 Climax talk and breakdown. Whenever the schedule is released, we'll talk about that more in depth. So let's talk about an issue Daniel Bryan brought up on SmackDown. The SmackDown Tag Team division sucks. And you look at it, it makes sense. Even on Raw, the Tag Team division sucks. Here's the Raw Tag Team roster. You have the Ascension, who are never on TV. You have the Authors of Pain, who are still waiting for, I think it's Razor, who's injured right now. Hopefully he's back soon. You have the Revival, the Usos, the Good Brothers, who are on their way out. Hawkins and Ryder, the Viking Raiders, War Raiders, the War Viking Experience Raiders, It's so stupid. It's an issue I don't even want to talk about at this point. I'm tired of it. And Heath Slater and Rhino said he's leaving when his contract expires or runs out. And he said he's not really going to be focusing too much on wrestling, I think. Especially because he wants to go into politics and he has a boatyard now, which is something I didn't think I'd say. Rhino owns a boatyard. That's just weird to me. So the Raw Tag Team division's okay. Revival and Usos make it better. For the SmackDown teams, you have New Day, who kind of are a little busy with Kofi as WWE champion and Big E hurt. I feel like if Big E wasn't hurt, you could have Big E and Woods as the tag team and Kofi as the singles competitor. Or you could just interchange it throughout. You could have Woods be the singles competitor. You could have Big E be the singles competitor. You had the B team, Bryan and Rowan, the Hardy Boys with Jeff now out due to injury, Heavy Machinery, the Colognes, who we never see ever, and Rusev and Nakamura. The SmackDown division has some good teams. Bryan and Rowan are actually a really good tag team. Heavy Machinery is a great young team. New Day would be good if Big E wasn't hurt. The Hardy Boys would be good if Jeff wasn't hurt. And Rusev and Nakamura are great. I've been saying this for months. I'm a fan of Rusev and Nakamura. The fact that they didn't have a tag team title tournament to determine the new champs is annoying to me. But how can you make these divisions better? You look at it, you have, in one instance, you have two singles guys just thrown together. Well, Bryan's just thrown with Rowan because they want Bryan to stay on TV, essentially, and they don't want him feuding with Finn Balor for the Intercontinental title just yet, I don't think. And then you have Rusev and Nakamura. Maybe a little more on them later. Here's the thing. You can take some of the singles guys who don't have anything going on right now and put them in a team. For example, here are some I made. For Raw, you could put Baron Corbin and Bobby Lashley together. People don't like Corbin. They don't like Lashley. Perfect heel tag team. There you go. Cedric Alexander and Ricochet. Fantastic idea for a tag team. EC3 and Robert Roode. You have a guy who is in the top 1%, who is better than everybody, and Robert Roode, who thinks he's better than everybody, and everybody else, it's essentially Rick Rude as by Rude. You have No Way Jose and Titus O'Neil put together, because you do need somebody to take pins and lose matches. It's No Way Jose and Titus O'Neil. Sorry, guys. And once Rhino leaves, I think Mojo Rawley and Heath Slater would be a good one. It'll be very interesting going forward to see what they do, because you have all these guys who are like really good, and so these are a lot of singles guys put together, and people are gonna say that's too many tag teams. You could not break up tag teams, but have them say, hey, look, let's take a break. I'll focus on singles. You can go and do this. You can go and do whatever you need to do. We could see Ricochet go after the U.S. title. I think what they need to do, have a U.S. title tournament culminating at, I want to say it's Stomping Grounds. There's the pay-per-view after Saudi Arabia. And you could put Cedric Alexander, Ricochet, Robert Roode, maybe Baron Corbin and Bobby Lashley, Cesaro, Samoa Joe, and some other guy I'm probably forgetting because I don't have the Raw roster in front of me. I have this all written down on a piece of paper. SmackDown's got it a little bit easier. There's a lot of great wrestlers on that show that would be a fantastic team together, I think. For example, and these two were pictured together for when it was announced that Shane McMahon would be announcing a new tag team champion. Ali and Finn Balor. That would be a great tag team. You have people who love Balor, and Ali is a hot, young up-and-comer who is ready for a push. You put him with somebody who's as experienced as Finn Balor, those two would gel well together. They would get a lot of things done together. They would learn a lot together, and you could use that to help make Ali the next big star, which I think they want to do. I said this in my How Did They Get Here for Apollo Crews. He's been teaming with Matt Hardy a lot on the house show circuit. I could see Crews and Matt Hardy as a tag team while Jeff's out. And even when Jeff comes back, because I'm pretty sure they're going to do Broken Matt. Well, put quotes around broken. I don't know if they want to go that route. But you put Crews in that little thing where it's like, hey, Brother Nero's back. We're going to let him go and do his thing while Matt and Apollo go after the tag team titles. And you could throw in somebody else, maybe Shelton Benjamin, Sheamus, someone, and just have them be like, oh, hey, here's the stable. The broken universe is complete. Who was the one that was included in the Ultimate Deletion? No, there wasn't anybody there. Bray's busy being Bray with the Firefly Funhouse, which is fantastic. I'm trying to think who they could put as like a guy to go after the secondary titles, like the Intercontinental. I can't think of anybody right now. Maybe an NXT call-up, somebody like that. I think a good team also would be Buddy Murphy and Shelton Benjamin. You have two guys who are vastly different styles. You have Buddy Murphy, who's not necessarily a high flyer, but he's a cruiserweight who does like to do flips and stuff and everything. And Shelton Benjamin, who's a technician and an actual wrestler. You have to have a team then prepare for two different styles, whereas you face somebody like the Usos, you know what you're getting. You face somebody like the Revival, you know what you're getting. You're getting a solid wrestling team. When you get a team of a high flyer and a solid wrestler together, that would be very interesting. Here's another solid wrestler, but now with a big guy. Chad Gable and Luke Harper, or whatever his name is now. And I know the reports are out that Harper wants out. If he wants out, at least let him wrestle some matches, please. He's so good. And with Gable, you have a tag team specialist, for lack of a better term, in Gable, who's wrestled with Jason Jordan, Robert Roode, won tag team titles with both of them. He would work very well in a team with a bigger guy. You could have Gable be the one that gets beat down and thrown around and everything, and then Harper comes in off the hot tag and can just wreck shop. That would be a very interesting one to me. I would really like to see it. And the last one I came up with on SmackDown was Sheamus and Jinder Mahal. Why? Why not? Just let them have fun. Wrestling is about fun. There's a reason I love the 24/7 title. It's fun. You can have wacky segments. I think they're right now just seeing just what they can do with this title. What boundaries can they push? What that's not the right term. What can they actually get away with this title? So they've had 4 champions right now. 4 different people have held that title. You've had Titus O'Neil, Robert Roode, R-Truth, and Elias. Elias is the second longest reigning champion at just under an hour, I believe. Truth has held the championship for, he had it a week, just about 2 weeks, more or less, probably a little less. Robert Roode held it for about 30 minutes, and Titus O'Neil had it for like 15 seconds. So you have a title that they want to make this a big thing. They want this to be good. There's an easy way to do that. You use social media. But you can't have everybody and their grandmother going after this title. You want to have solid divisions throughout. I know a lot of these tag teams, you take mid-card guys and put them in the tag team division. In the tag team division, that needs help. You need people to step up. And you have to put singles guys together sometimes. Sometimes it just works. And sometimes tag teams, when they break up, go on to be great singles wrestlers. Look at the Edge and Christian. Look at the Hardy Boys. They've gone from being great tag teams, maybe the 2 best tag teams of all time, to being some of the best wrestlers of all time. Edge is my personal all-time favorite wrestler. Christian is in the top 15. You have these guys who are just good together, but you separate them, and they can work well too, which is why with the made-up tag teams I had, like Corbin Lashley, Cedric and Ricochet, Ali and Finn Balor, Apollo Crews and Matt Hardy, you can break those guys up and still have them go after singles titles, but you want them to come back together so that way you can have a decent division. Say, like, right now Balor's Intercontinental Champion. Let's say, for all intents and purposes, he drops the title to Andrade at the Saudi Arabia show. And then he comes back, he loses the rematch at Stomping Grounds, and then him and Ali form a tag team or something. It's an interesting route. There's a lot of guys who have nothing to do. And when you have such a bad division as the SmackDown Tag Team Division and the Raw Tag Team Division, you make the tag teams. It seems like simple knowledge to me. Okay, so that's those 2 topics out of the way, and I'm still under half an hour. Nice. Let's go to Double or Nothing. This show, to me, it took a little bit. The first 2 main card matches were good. They were good. There was just something that didn't click with me personally about them. I don't know what it is. Well, for one, I know what it is. For the other, I'm not sure about. But once they had Best Friends versus Jack Evans and Angelico, that's when they kind of hit their stride. And everything from that point on was great to fantastic in that range. Let's start at the very beginning with the pre-show Casino Battle Royal. The rules made sense to me. I understood it. You had 4 groups of 5, and you had 1 joker, 1 wild card, essentially. Every, 3 minutes? 4 minutes? 5 minutes? I don't remember exactly the time. They would shuffle the deck, and the next suit would come out. So, like, the diamonds started, and then it was the hearts, and then the spades, and then the club. No, and then the clubs, and then the spades. And then the joker. Joker was always going to be last. So you started with Brandon Cutler and MJF were the big names in there. I know you had Sonny Kiss. And at least 2, there were 2 others. I don't remember that well. Michael Nakazawa was one of them. And I think it was Dustin Thomas is his name. The paraplegic guy. I feel bad I don't remember his name. I want to say it was Dustin Thomas. I'm going to say it was Dustin Thomas. So you had them start off the Battle Royal. Then, however much time later, you had the next two come out where you had Joey Janela, Jimmy Havoc, Brian Pillman Jr., Jungle Boy, I think, was in there, and Isaiah Cassidy. And then so on and so forth till everybody was in. The commentators got one thing wrong. When Orange Cassidy came out and lightly was kicking Tommy Dreamer. Okay, I'm wrong. He was kicking Tommy Dreamer so hard, Tommy Dreamer was on crutches the next day. He was number 20. They said he was number 22. If you go back and watch, when the Spades came out, the last group before Hangman Page, out came Luchasaurus, Marco Stunt, Sonny Kiss, and Tommy Dreamer. That's 4. That's only 4 wrestlers. In a group of 5, there's one missing. That's Orange Cassidy. I don't know if people have said it on Twitter already. I don't know how to look that up. Casino Battle Royal number 20. I don't know. But it felt a little, not disjointed, but it was a solid Battle Royal as it goes. It wasn't one of the greatest. It wasn't like the 2008 or 2010 Royal Rumbles. It was better than a lot of Battle Royals I've seen. I'm trying to remember all of them. It was a lot better than the 2 New Japan Rumbles I've seen. I will say that. And the winner was treated a lot better than the Ring of Honor Rumble before the G1 Supercard, where Kenny King just came in and tossed out 2 of the greatest wrestlers of all time, in Great Muta and Jushin Liger, to win the whole thing. So we got to... There were 2 points that stuck out to me towards the end. That was Jimmy Havoc with the staple gun on Tommy Dreamer. I feel very bad for Tommy Dreamer waking up. I don't know if there's any staples in it or not. They might have gone a little safe. And then Havoc biting the fingers of Jungle Boy to eliminate him. And then there was also Luchasaurus' chokeslam of Joey Janela through a table. I don't know if it was Janela or Penelope Ford that screamed like that, but that was fantastic. That was a great scream. Overall, it was solid, and the final 4 was where things really got interesting to me. You had 3 guys, 2 guys, one guy everybody knew, Hangman Page. 2 guys most people knew in Jimmy Havoc and MJF, and one guy nobody knew at all, Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus might be my new favorite wrestler. He looked amazing in this Battle Royal. And I put on Twitter, at some point, I was responding to Amy. I want to say her Twitter is Phoenix NJPW. Excuse me while I check Twitter. This is how professional I actually am. Phoenix NJPW. I responded to one of her tweets saying, she asked who was the most impressive. Yeah, who was the most impressive at Double or Nothing to Do that you had never seen before? I said Luchasaurus for sure. Hashtag sign Luchasaurus. An hour later, All Elite Wrestling tweets out that they signed Luchasaurus. I was so happy. I cannot wait to see what they do with him. They have to have something planned if they just announced that they signed him. In the end, the right person won with Hangman Page. They want to build him up. The whole thing was going into the show, him versus Pac was probably going to be one of the final 4 matches. And you have the winner probably going against Jericho versus the Jericho Omega winner. Pac did not want to do the job. They wanted the Double or Nothing guy, the Elite wanted Page to win because they want to build Page up to be a big star. And with Page winning the Battle Royal, now he gets the title shot. Pac didn't want to lose. This way they both look strong. I'm curious if Pac is going to be working with All Elite Wrestling going forward. He's already been pulled from the next show they're doing. It's the one with CEO. The gaming convention. The one that had Omega and Ibushi versus Okada and Ishii, I want to say, last year. So it was a solid Battle Royal. It builds to the next shows. No, it's Fight for the Fallen that EOS pulled from. Oh, God, this is driving me crazy. It was Fyter Fest he was pulled from. I actually just had to look that up. So I'm curious about it now. But either way, Page winning was a great call. Either match, Paige winning would have been a great call. I have been high on Paige for a long time, and I am very excited to see what his future holds. So next we had Kip Sabian versus Sammy Guevara. Now I still don't know how to say it. It was solid. It wasn't going to be anything that blew you out of the water. You got to see two guys who have been good for a long time, and now they actually have a chance to show the whole world, how good they are. The guys and girls that spend way too much time watching wrestling, like me, knew how good these two guys were, and now the whole world gets to see it. Let's now circle back to the question I asked earlier that's been lingering in the air. Where does Marty Scurll go? Before the show started, the Elite came out. It was the Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Cody. They came out. They had the Elite video package thing, the intro for Being the Elite on YouTube, playing. If you watch, during SoCal Uncensored on the roller coaster, in the background, there's a guy with an umbrella and a Plague Doctor mask floating down. That's Marty Scurll. Marty Scurll's been teasing trying to find a fourth member for Villain Enterprises. I still say it should be Adam Brooks. #sign Adam Brooks for Villain Enterprises. If you don't know who Adam Brooks is, please go look him up. He's really good. He's a Australian. I'm going to say he's Australian. He's Australian or New Zealand. I'm pretty sure he's Australian. He's an Australian pro wrestler who he had a few matches in Progress that really impressed me. I've been a fan of his ever since, and I've watched some of his older stuff. He's been a great wrestler for a long time, and I'm very excited to see what he does next. But with Marty Scurll being in that Elite video, does he go to All Elite Wrestling? Marty's got the whole wrestling world at his disposal right now. He could stay with Ring of Honor and grow Villain Enterprises. He could sign with New Japan and become one of the next great junior heavyweights of all time. He could go to All Elite Wrestling and be a building block there. And the option people forget that I think he could go to WWE. Will the villain thing work? Absolutely. NXT UK would work very well for him. 205 Live would work great for him. And eventually the main roster, Raw and SmackDown, he would look good if given the right chance. More on that a little bit later. And the thing is, the reason I kind of always put WWE out there as an option for Scurll, other people aren't doing it. Like you look at Britt Baker and Adam Cole. Cole's in NXT, Britt Baker's now in All Elite Wrestling. Deonna Purrazzo is Marty Scurll's girlfriend, and she's in NXT. I would think a couple would want to stay somewhat close together, nearby. And if you have, it seems like a lot of NXT wrestlers live in the same area, since they go to the PC, Full Sail's right there. They all live in somewhat the same area. So they have access to everything at the same time. If you have an All Elite wrestler in Marty Scurll living with his girlfriend and going to work out with her at gyms or stuff, there's going to be speculation that he's going to WWE. But if he signs with All Elite Wrestling, would they want that in with NXT? It's a whole mess I don't want to get involved in or really think about, but always leave the option there for Scurll to go to WWE. Never just completely rule it out. So then after their little promo, for lack of a better term, I guess, we go to the main card. We start off with SoCal Uncensored, which was Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, and Scorpio Sky against Strong Hearts, El Lindemann, Sema, and T-Hawk. Very solid, a very good match. To me, it was a bit sloppy at points. There were some moves that just didn't look right. In the end, SoCal Uncensored got the win. I don't think that was the wrong answer, but I personally would have liked to see Strong Hearts go over, and then you can continue to build up the guys from OWE, Oriental Wrestling Entertainment. But very, very good match. Those 6 look great. Very excited to see what the future holds. And now this was the one match I was a little disappointed by. We had the women's triple threat, which is going to be Britt Baker versus Kylie Rae versus Nyla Rose. And then when all three women are in the ring, Brandy Rhodes comes out and announces Awesome Kong is in the match. I wanted to see the Fatal 4-Way. A lot of wrestling fans who used to watch TNA, or now it's known Impact Wrestling, everybody knew who watched that show how good Awesome Kong was. She was great. She was fantastic. I wanted to see three women I had never seen wrestle before show off what they can do. And yeah, they still got to do that, but I would have preferred... This could just be me picking at hairs at this point. I would have rather had Awesome Kong come out after the match, after Britt Baker had won, and then attack all three women, and that way they could announce her in a bigger way. Not just insert her into a match that's already been made and people have been looking forward to. That was a personal thing. I just didn't like it. Somebody put on Twitter, and I agree with this. If WWE had pulled something like this, they would have been booed out of the building. People would have said #cancel the network and everything like that. I don't agree with canceling the network under any circumstances. Partly because you get a whole bunch of wrestling content for $10 a month, which is fantastic. Great deal. But Baker winning was a good call. You can kind of build her up to be the ace of the division. For the ace of the division, it's between her and Bea Priestley for me. I am still shocked Bea Priestley wasn't on this card at all. I think she's still over in Stardom right now. She might have just ended her tour there and is coming to... She might be at Fyter Fest. Not sure. They're still announcing matches for that card, so we don't know anything really. I am very curious, though. They had Allie on commentary. Where does Allie play into all of this? Is she going to be the third wheel? Is she going to be the young up-and-comer? Is she going to be the next big deal? Or is she just going to be there? I'll get into this later, too. I'm trying to go through this as fast as I can. And then, like I said, the match with Best Friends versus Jack Evans and Angelico was fantastic. This is where the show really took off for me. You had Jack Evans and Angelico flying around doing their thing. You had Beretta and Chucky T trying to slow the match down and eventually winning the match. The nice handshake afterwards. And then these guys showed up that nobody knew. A lot of people didn't know who they were. And then people came on Twitter and said, it's Super Smash Bros. And I'm like, I don't see Mario, Donkey Kong, Sonic. I don't see these guys. It's a group from Smash Wrestling. And I was like, oh, now I get it. There's already been reports going out, and I put this on Twitter for All Things Combat. They're going to change the name to avoid copyright strikes by Nintendo or trademark claims or whatever the word is. But it was a great match. I say one of these two should be the first All Elite Wrestling Tag Team Champions. It'll be very interesting to me. And I do have something about that very soon after I finish the wrap-up here of the pay-per-view. It's tough because I always loved Beretta, and I think he would be a better singles wrestler, but him and Chucky T are just so great together. It's a real tough call to say Beretta should leave Chucky T and go be a singles wrestler compared to Beretta and Chucky T should be together to help establish this tag team division. I think they stay together. I'm not saying they're going to break up, but we could see them both go into the singles division at some point. And not dissolve Best Friends, but put it to the side and focus on their individual matches. Then there was the women's six-way match. I'm going to try and say these names right. I'm still not sure. Hikaru Shida, Riho Abe, and Ryo Mizunami versus Aja Kong, Yuka Sasaki, and Ima Sakurai. This was great. It exceeded my expectations. You look at where this match was on the card, it was going to lead into the three big matches after... The three big matches, essentially. I thought this was going to be kind of like a filler... Not a filler match, but like a bridge match, where it would be a decent match, but nothing you thought would have been this great. It was fantastic. All six women look great. They built up Aja Kong to be this monster, and Hikaru Shida came in and fixed and won the match. There was a bit of an issue where There was a 2 count. The referee said 2, but the timekeeper rang the bell. Where, nope, that match isn't over. So they were chanting, "You fucked up," to the timekeeper. So, great job. First show, big mistake. All Elite Wrestling's going down. They already can't figure out how to ring a bell right. I think this is going to be an interesting thing to look at, because I think Hikaru Shida was the only one signed, like officially signed to the roster. And after I get to these 3 matches, talk more about that. Cody over Dustin Rhodes. This was a great match. It was fantastic to watch. It was nice to see 2 brothers just beat the ever-loving crap out of each other. I still wonder this. Could it have been even better if there wasn't all that blood? I kind of thought, okay, the blood obviously wasn't planned. But let's say, for all intents and purposes, Dustin doesn't get busted open. Let's say that. And then let's say those 2 have an even better match. I think it would have been interesting to see. I feel like they had to change things up because of the blood. And also, this is kind of where I feel WWE has it right. You see all that blood, it's like, ugh, that's a little too much. To me, it was a little too much. I think it's tough because time changes, and it's like ECW back in the 90s was cool when you had all this blood and gore and violence, and then you go to nowadays where you see it, but it's not that bad. The worst I've seen recently was Katsuyori Shibata when he headbutted, oh god, I don't remember who he headbutted, but he headbutted him. The camera zoomed in on his face, and then just out of his forehead, blood just trickles down to past his nose. It was so nasty, but that's the most I've seen since then. It shouldn't take away from the fact it was a great match. The blood wasn't the worst part of the match. The worst part was when Dustin rolled over, and on the one side where he had the cut, you could just see it pouring out of his head. That part was the worst part. It was a nice ending where Cody said he didn't need a rival, he needed his brother. And then they hugged in the ring. That was a nice thing to see. I'm very excited to see what they have this going forward. Are they a tag team? I'd like to see it. It would mean a very, very stacked All Elite Wrestling tag team division, though. The Young Bucks and Lucha Bros was great. I've sat around and thought about this, and I've come to this conclusion. Personally, I'm not the biggest Young Bucks fan. I'll admit they're great. I've said this before, even with like Phoenix and a couple other guys. They're great. They're fantastic in the ring. Just something doesn't click with me. And it's annoying that I don't know what it is. But the Bucks over the Lucha Bros was the right call simply because of the fact that the Bucks just won the titles and the AAA Luchador tag team titles. I don't think AAA is a promotion that's going to want to hotshot the titles back and forth. I think the Bucks are going to keep it for a little while, and then some team who is probably great that we don't know about from AAA is going to win the titles from the Bucks. And then maybe those titles go back to AAA and we see them on the All Elite Wrestling pay-per-views. I don't know if we'll see them on the weekly show, but who knows at this point. And then our main event was Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho. This was the... Oh, God. They had the match at Wrestle Kingdom. Then, I think this was only the second ever time. Yeah, because it's a 1-1 record. You have the... These two just work so well together. I don't know if it's because they're from Winnipeg. They're both from Winnipeg. Or if it's that they're just good wrestlers. I think it's probably the Winnipeg thing. That's got to be what it is. It's not that Chris Jericho is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time and Kenny Omega is one of the greatest wrestlers walking here today. It's definitely because they're both from Winnipeg. It's because they're two of the greatest wrestlers of all time. From a pure wrestling standpoint, Kenny Omega, he's not yet in the same breath as Chris Jericho, as Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. He's working on it, though, and he's getting there. I'm very excited to see this because in the all-time list, it's never going to end. Wrestling is going to be a thing till the end of time. at the end of time, it's going to be interesting to see where everybody ranks. How high does Chris Jericho end up? How high does Kenny Omega come up? Where's Cody? Where's Shawn Michaels? Bret Hart? Will Ospreay? Ricochet? Marty Scurll? I'm looking at papers that have these names on it. That's why their names are coming to me. Where do these guys all end up? Where are they? But the match itself, you had two guys that just get wrestling. It was good as expected. Not a fan of Jericho's finisher. His new finisher, the Judas, whatever it's called. I feel bad that I don't know the name. But if people make fun of John Cena's sixth move of doom being that thunder back fist or whatever he calls it at this point, people need to make fun of Jericho having this as his finisher. It's nowhere near the code breaker, and it's definitely nowhere near the damn lion salt. It's a work in progress, I think. He's got to use the code breaker. It has to be. The code breaker has to be the finisher to me. It's something that's become iconic, and people know it. It's the code breaker. It'll always be the code breaker to me. So that's the show. It was a fantastic show. It was a bit of a rocky start for me personally. I just couldn't get into it at first. I'm like, this is okay at best. Because don't get me wrong, it was two good matches, two really good matches to start the show. But it was just like a little disconnect from me personally. And then after the last 5 matches, you had fantastic matches. It's going to be an interesting promotion going forward. I do say the women's division need more. They have 6 wrestlers right now. We still don't know what Penelope Ford is going to do, if she's just going to be a manager or if she's actually going to wrestle. I think you have to sign some of these women. Sign Riho Abe, Ryo Mizunami. I didn't see Aja Kong's name on the official roster. Yuka Sakazaki. Her entrance theme is so annoying, and I hate it, but I also love it. And Emi Sakura. You need to sign some of these women, or get a working relationship with an all women's promotion. I think I talk about this. Working relationships are always great. I love seeing working relationships in wrestling. Progress in WWE has been great. Ring of Honor and Rev Pro with New Japan has been fantastic. All Elite Wrestling has AAA and OWE. They need somebody else. I think WWE has Shimmer pretty much on lock at this point, so it's not going to be Shimmer. Stardom's a question mark at this point to me, because they have some wrestlers from everywhere. A couple from All Elite Wrestling have been there. Bea Priestley is the most prominent one. Toni Storm's been there, and she's signed to WWE. I would say go with Sendai Pro Girls Wrestling, I think is the name. 1 second. It's called Sendai Girls Pro Wrestling. They have a lot of great talent. They have a lot of good wrestlers. It would be a perfect working relationship. And it also continues the trend of All Elite Wrestling in their working relationships. I knew AAA existed. I had never seen anything from them until hearing that All Elite Wrestling had a working relationship with AAA. And the same, I had never heard of OWE on another hand. And then I found them, and they look great. They look like they're going to be a good promotion going forward. And then they can continue to work with younger promotions and build them up to become big promotions. And if they can get a couple of older ones, it'll be nice too. I am curious, somebody else pointed this out, with Moxley and Jericho working for New Japan, do we see Ring of Honor being dropped by New Japan? I think it was Alex that pointed out on Twitter. Barry Potter is his name on Twitter, I believe. I hate that I keep going on Twitter during this podcast, but I want to make sure all my stuff is like factual and accurate. There he is. The Barry Potter on Twitter brought up the question. I think I would rather see All Elite Wrestling become the 4th working relationship with New Japan. It would be New Japan, All Elite Wrestling, Ring of Honor, CMLL, and Rev Pro. For those who don't know, CMLL is a Mexican independent promotion. What would be very important, though, is you could then see Ring of Honor guys, Jay Lethal, Kenny King, Matt Taven, The Kingdom, Jeff Cobb. You could see these guys on All Elite Wrestling, and Ring of Honor could say, look, we're helping with this. We're making this promotion even better than what it is. Even though All Elite Wrestling is going to be fantastic, you could say Ring of Honor is helping make this even better, and that could help Ring of Honor get a good TV deal. And then we could have, the more wrestling we can get on TV, the better. Right now we have WWE on TV, we have Impact on TV, and All Elite Wrestling is going to be on TV. New Japan would come on at a god-awful time in the US. I think it was like 5:30 a.m. for the Best of Super Juniors this morning. It would come on at a god-awful time, and it would get horrible ratings. So it makes sense why Access shows it on like tape delay. I think it's like a 2-day delay at least. But the more wrestling you get on TV, the better for wrestling fans. You can see more matches, you can find more of your favorite wrestlers, and just enjoy the product. Don't be a person that's like, oh, you gotta pick a side. No. You can just enjoy pro wrestling. That's what I do. Just enjoy the show. I kind of cut off topic there. The women's division needs some more people. The tag team, mid-card, and women's divisions need titles. Because I think the mid-card is going to be very interesting. Especially the bit they had after Bret Hart came out and showed off the All Elite Wrestling title. It looks fantastic, by the way. Before he revealed it, Paige was out there. He was interrupted by MJF. Then out came Jungle Boy and Jimmy Havoc. I think those three are going to be a prominent part in the promotion. But another thing I would love to see, put Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus together for a tag team. Because right now, if you have, let's say you have a tag team tournament to determine the first ever tag team champions. You would have Best Friends, Jack Evans and Angelico, the Young Bucks, the Lucha Bros. That's 4. I think you would want to do an 8-man tournament. Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy is another team. You could you get SoCal Uncensored. That's 6. Strong Hearts would be 7. You just need one more, and you could easily make one. Or you have Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn. There's 8. There's your 8. Perfect. The plans, I think, are going to be interesting going forward. The match quality is there. The matches are good. The question is, to me, how is the storytelling going to be? That's one of the things I have against WWE. The storytelling is god-awful. If All Elite Wrestling can have good storytelling, then it'll be very fun to watch going forward. I guess now bringing up WWE. Let's go to the best part about WWE, NXT. NXT Takeover 25 really snuck up on a lot of people. I said in my first podcast, we were going to have Money in the Bank, Double or Nothing, Takeover 25, and Dominion back to back to back to back. That's 4 great shows right there. And Takeover, the card did not disappoint. You have Matt Riddle versus Roderick Strong, a fatal 4-way tag team ladder match to determine the new NXT tag team champions. Io Shirai versus Shayna Baszler for the women's championship. Velveteen Dream versus Tyler Breeze going back to NXT for the North American title. And Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole for the NXT championship. Let's start with the only non-title match. Matt Riddle versus Roderick Strong. This one's the easiest one to predict on the show. It's going to be Matt Riddle, I think. You have a guy who's being built up to be the next challenger for the NXT title. And Roderick Strong is a great wrestler. Fantastic. He's solid. He's great. He just has always been one step behind. He's always one step short. And I think that it's probably going to be Matt Riddle winning this match. Makes the most sense to me. And he will play into the main event later. Not like interfering in the match, but me picking my winner for the main event. So the Pick'em ladder match. You have 4 teams that could feasibly win it. You have the reformed Red Dragon with Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. You have the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. You have Forgotten Sons, who their representation isn't known yet. That's a new 3-man group with Steve Cutler, Wesley Blake, formerly of Blake and Murphy, and what's his name? Jackson Riker, the former Gunner from TNA. I think it's going to be Cutler and Blake, I'm going to say. And then Riker can be the next one to challenge Velveteen Dream for the North American title because unfortunately Dominic Djokovic is injured and he won't be able to. If it wasn't for Djokovic's injury, I think we would be seeing Dream versus Djokovic at Takeover instead of Dream versus Breeze. I'm happy we're getting Dream versus Breeze, but I love Djokovic. I'm very curious what his plans are going forward. I actually do have a plan in mind, but it would take a little bit of working, and I'm very curious if that's the plan they have. And you also have Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. Can't forget about them. Those are two guys who, before their match with Strong and O'Reilly at TakeOver Chicago 2, 3, the most recent TakeOver Chicago, you would have said, I have no idea. It was unknown at that point. We didn't know how good they would work together, and then them versus Strong and O'Reilly was fantastic. You have 4 teams that could feasibly win this title. I have been racking my brain thinking of a reason for one of these teams not to win the title. The only reason I could think of for Lorcan and Burch not winning is because Lorcan's on 205 Live. Would you really have the NXT Tag Team Champions be a guy from NXT and a guy from 205 Live? I wouldn't mind it, but that's the only real feasible thing I could think of that wouldn't work. It seems like to me they're building up both Forgotten Sons and Street Profits. We all know Undisputed Era. Everybody knows Undisputed Era. We all know how good they are. I don't think they need a third tag team title reign. I miss O'Reilly's air guitar, yes, or title guitar, but I would rather have a young up-and-coming team. So that, to me, eliminates Undisputed Era. I'm going to eliminate Lorcan and Burch simply because I don't think time's right for that. They're going to be good, and I think they should be the ones to take the titles from Zach Gibson and James Drake in NXT UK. But so that leaves me with 2 teams: Forgotten Sons and Street Profits. It's like I said, it's a pick'em. You don't know who's going to win this match. You could feasibly see all 4 teams winning. I'm taking Street Profits. Simply because I think they've been building them up to be the next tag team in NXT that's seen as a dominant force. Not dominant force, but one of the next solid tag teams that you see. Because you look at it, they went to Evolve and won the Evolve tag team titles. They've held those titles. They held those titles for a long time. I think they've recently dropped them. And now they're saying, okay, you guys prove that you can go and Evolve. We're going to bring you back, and you're going to win these titles. Or you're going to prove to us why you should be the next NXT Tag Team Champions. And I think this is the perfect time. I think Dawkins and Ford are 2 very good wrestlers. They're 2 guys that work great as a team. They could be seen as like the guys like Revival, like the Usos, who are just going to be a team forever. You can't see them breaking up. Whereas, like, you look back in the days, like, you look at the Rockers, you go like, oh, yeah, they're breaking up. There's no way that Michaels and Jannetty are going to stay together forever. Same with the Hart Foundation, to an extent. You're not going to see Owen and Brett always together. They're just too good to be weighed down by a tag team. And, like, it's a bad term to say weighed down as a tag team, but when it's like you see these guys have potential to be the next breakout stars, you need to get them out of a tag team. I can see Dawkins and Ford being a team together forever. They would not get tired. I would love to see it. These 2 were fantastic. And then we get to a woman who is not fantastic. She's just brutal and mean, and I love her for it. Shayna Baszler. She's defending her NXT Women's Championship against Io Shirai. This is another toss-up to me. You look at it and say, either one of them can win. I personally have Io Shirai being the one to take the title off of Shayna Baszler. I had Shirai in the Fatal 4-Way. Bianca Belair was the one that got beat. Kairi Sane and Io Shirai did not factor into that decision. Kairi Sane got called up, and now Io Shirai is the only one left in NXT who has a claim to that title. The only issue is if Io Shirai is the one to take the title, the next takeover is Takeover Los Angeles in, the weekend of SummerSlam. No, that's Takeover Toronto. My bad. Where who's the next big heel? Who's the next challenger for the women's title if that's the case? it makes sense to me for Shirai to win. A Baszler post call up post SummerSlam would make sense to me. Baszler is one of the few that can say they're ready for the main roster. Her, all of the Undisputed Era, Gargano. I'll throw Pete Dunne in that conversation, even though he's not in this NXT. Velveteen Dream I'll also put in that conversation. Those 5 are ready to go right now. Matt Riddle, I just need to see a little bit more from. I want to see a little more from his promo work. It was the same issue I had with Ricochet. He just wasn't ready promo-wise. But Ricochet's been killing it on the main roster. Okay, so... But the reason it's tough for me to pick Shirai is because there's 2 other women that make sense to be the one to take the title off of Baszler. You have Candice LeRae and Mia Yim. Let's start with LeRae first. Candice LeRae is... Everybody knows she's the wife of Johnny Gargano. That seems to be the only thing that she's done in NXT. She's won in singles matches, yes, but she hasn't done much else. Everybody has seen her as Johnny Gargano's wife. And kind of the glue holding Gargano together. Let's say everyone's like, we want to see more from Candice LeRae. And we get to see more from Candice LeRae. And they continue to build her up and build her up. And then we get to her challenging Baszler. And she looks great. She would be fantastic. And my only question would be, is she the right person? To me, I can see LeRae coming the closest to beating Shayna Baszler. But not beating her. I think the perfect person to take the title off of Shayna Baszler, if Io Shirai doesn't do it this Saturday, is Mia Yim. Mia Yim has the story. She has the background. She has the track record. She has history with Baszler. Shayna Baszler eliminated her from the Mae Young Classic. The first ever Mae Young Classic. Toni Storm eliminated Mia Yim from the second Mae Young Classic. The fans wanted Mia Yim signed. Triple H came out and said, okay. They signed Mia Yim. And then she's had matches consistently on NXT. The people who get matches consistently on NXT, you can see they have something in their future. They're going to become stars. Mia Yim is the next person I think the Triple H wants to be a star. And I think the timing is perfect. You have somebody who's... She's the first person to pin Bianca Belair on NXT television. She has had great matches against Belair. She's had about 3, I want to say. Baszler has attacked her after matches. They seem to be building in this direction. And I am perfectly fine with it. I am all there for it. Because Shayna Baszler is that big bad heel. And she is going to be beaten by that young, up-and-coming, or underdog babyface. That's Mia Yim. Mia Yim is ready for this opportunity. She is ready for this chance. I am here to see it. I want to see at... The question is, when would it be? I can see Shirai Baszler maybe ending in a no contest this weekend. And then at TakeOver Toronto, you have Shirai Baszler. Maybe last woman standing. Baszler gets up at 9, and it's almost Gargano Ciampa all over again. Baszler gets up at 9, Shirai stays down for the 10. Baszler wins, and then you have her versus LeRae or versus somebody else at War Games. And then at TakeOver, what would it be? TakeOver Miami. It's a Royal Rumble weekend. Mia Yim, quote-unquote, steals the title from Shayna Baszler. And then you go to WrestleMania weekend after that, TakeOver Tampa Bay. You have Io Shirai. You could have, no, not Io Shirai. You have Mia Yim versus Shayna Baszler, where the posse Shayna Baszler has, Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir, are banned from ringside. And it's Shirai. I keep saying Shirai. It's Mia Yim versus Shayna Baszler, one-on-one. No outside interference. Mia Yim beats her clean, and then Shayna gets the call up. I can see it. In my head, it makes sense. To me, it makes a whole bunch of sense. Is it going to happen? I don't know. It seems like the direction they're going. But you think about it, Shayna Baszler has done it all in NXT. She has nothing left to do. Dropping the title to Shirai this weekend makes sense to me. So I'm taking Io Shirai. But the question is, after that, where do they go? Now we go to the North American Championship, where you have Velveteen Dream defending the title against Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze going back to NXT is a fantastic call. He is very good. He's a solid wrestler. He is somebody who has always looked good. But it just didn't make sense for him on the main roster. He didn't do it. He didn't do anything. He had Fashion Files, and that was over as hell, but that led to nothing. If there was a time for the Usos to drop the tag team titles on SmackDown, during the Fashion Files was it. And they didn't. So I was like, well, what are they doing with Tyler Breeze now? The answer was nothing. And now he's in NXT, and he's going to kill it. Because NXT Tyler Breeze is the best Tyler Breeze. He looked great during his time in NXT the first time. That being said, I don't see him being the one to take the title from Velveteen Dream. It's going to be somebody big. I don't mean like a big name, a new guy. Somebody big. Like Keith Lee, Dominic Djokovic, maybe Jackson Riker. Because you look at Dream, he's not the biggest guy in the fight. He's 6'2", 215. Jackson Riker's 6'3", 230. Keith Lee is 6'6", 270. And Djokovic is 6'7". He's only 215 pounds, though, which is weird. He's huge, but he's skinny as hell. But I look at it, this is not going to be about Velveteen Dream. Everybody knows how good Velveteen Dream is. Everybody loves Velveteen Dream, unless you're one of those very few Velveteen Dream haters out there. This is going to be about Tyler Breeze and him reestablishing himself as one of the best singles wrestlers in NXT history. You look at what he did on the main roster. He had a couple of decent matches when he got called up at first. He challenged a guy who looked like his brother in Dolph Ziggler, which they are not. I actually had to look that up. I feel stupid. It's going to be about making everybody remember just how good Tyler Breeze is. There's a reason for Jushin Thunder Liger's only WWE sanctioned match. It was against Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze is good. He is a great wrestler. He is somebody who's going to be a big deal wherever he goes. But it's not the right time for Dream to drop the title just yet. I love Dream. I want to see him as champion a little bit longer. I love Tyler Breeze. But he has to take the time to be built up right. And if he doesn't get that, it's going to be a rush job, and I'm not going to be happy about it. Especially considering this title is going to be for people who are up and coming, who are not main event level just yet. I'm not saying Velveteen Dream is not main event level. Velveteen Dream took the title from Johnny Gargano. And Gargano won it from Ricochet. And Ricochet won it from Adam Cole. This is essentially the title where it's like, oh, you're ready for the main event, but we don't have a spot for you, so here you go. It's going to be them building up the next big deal. They built up Adam Cole. They built up Ricochet. They built up Gargano. They're building up Dream. Dream's going to drop it to a guy who hasn't won a title in WWE yet. To be fair, Tyler Breeze does fit that bill. This match is more people remembering Tyler Breeze. I said it already. This is about remembering just how good Tyler Breeze is. And that's what it needs to be. You need to remember just how good Tyler Breeze is in singles competition. This is going to be a fun match, though. This could be match of the night. It's very hard to not say it will be. But with the main event being Gargano versus Cole, anything before it, you're going to be like, oh, okay. Like, you have 4 great matches before you get to Gargano versus Cole. Any of them could be match of the night. And then Gargano Cole goes on, and they just tear it down for 45 minutes. I think this will be the match of the night outside of Gargano versus Cole, though. Dream has something about him that just screams pro wrestler. And Tyler Breeze screams, I need just one opportunity. This is Tyler Breeze's opportunity. I don't think he's just going to become a hit. I think he's knocking it out of the park. This is Tyler Breeze saying, I am this damn good, and you have to pay attention to me. I am there for it. And then we get to the main event, Gargano versus Adam Cole. You have Johnny Takeover, Johnny Champion, Johnny kick out of every single move that you have versus the best heel right now in NXT. I'm not just going with him because he's from Cleveland. I'm going with Johnny Gargano because of his next challenger. This match is going to be great. I don't even need to talk about this match because of the match they had at Takeover. Where was WrestleMania this year? Orlando. No. God, where was WrestleMania? New Orleans. Was it Orlando? Am I just stupid? It was New York. That's what it was. These two had a fantastic 2 out of 3 falls match in Takeover New York. And I think we're going to see mostly the same, even though this is, from what I know, this is a straight-up singles match. This is going to be a fantastic match. It could be another 5-star classic. I think it will be a 5-star classic. You just have 2 guys that understand pro wrestling. Adam Cole's going to hit him with everything in the book. I don't think we see Undisputed Era in this match. All 4 guys are busy throughout the night, so I think we're going to just get Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole. We're not going to get Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Roderick Strong involved. I don't think we see another Ciampa appearance. We might see LeRae at the end with Gargano celebrating, but it's going to be just these 2 guys. And what I'm very curious about is how can they top New York? They did almost everything in New York. What do they have left? And in the end, I think Gargano outlasts Adam Cole. And then the next challenger to me, the only person that makes sense is Matt Riddle. They've been building up Riddle. He's looked great in all of his matches. And then I think it's time for him to become the next face of NXT. I think Gargano's done everything. He's won every title. He's main evented a bunch of takeovers. I think he's main evented. Let's see. He main evented with Ciampa against the AOP at Takeover Chicago. He had 3 straight main events with Ciampa. He main evented Takeover 25. He's main eventing Takeover 25. He main evented New York. He main evented against Almas. Unless I'm missing any, that's 7. He's main evented 7 takeovers, and he's been at the most takeovers of NXT wrestlers in history. He is somebody who I think has nothing left to prove in NXT. So I could see SummerSlam weekend, him dropping the title to Riddle, and then going to SmackDown, and immediately being put into the Intercontinental Championship picture. Because I think at some point, Balor's dropping that title, and the right person to drop it to is Almas. And then maybe for Gargano's first championship match on the main roster, you get Gargano versus Almas again, which is a 5-star classic waiting to happen for a second time. And you could build that up to be a great rivalry going forward. Those 2 could be fighting each other in 5 years for a world championship, and nobody would be even mad about it. And then you look at Matt Riddle. Think back to his match with Velveteen Dream. He was seen as the heel in that match. He started acting more like a heel. I could see Matt Riddle turning heel. Maybe after the main event. Maybe at the taping after it. I see him turning heel and being the one to beat Gargano for that NXT championship. And him going on to be the heel champion everybody wants to see him as. I think he'd be great. Maybe Velveteen Dream is the one to take it off of him. Maybe it's Tyler Breeze. Maybe it's somebody I'm just completely forgetting. No, for all I know, maybe Adam Cole turns face. Undisputed Era becomes good guys, and Adam Cole takes the title from him at TakeOver Tampa Bay. It's something that I think makes sense. Matt Riddle is a fantastic wrestler. He's good. But imagine a cocky Matt Riddle, who's a chill dude, but he's just so cocky. He knows how good he is. And he can back it up. And not wear shoes at the same time. I think Matt Riddle will be a fantastic heel champion in NXT. He's the heel champion they need. After the great run Ciampa had as a completely different heel, as just a dirtbag who just pisses people off for a reason. Just to do it. You go to Matt Riddle, who's a cocky, confident, swagger heel. Almost kind of like Brock Lesnar. except for Matt Riddle doesn't need Paul Heyman. You have Matt Riddle as the dominant force in NXT as that heel, and you just want to see everybody punch him in the face. It would be such a good role. So that's my takeover picks. So to recap real quick, Matt Riddle over Roderick Strong. Street Profits are your new tag team champions. Shayna Baszler dropping her title to Io Shirai. Velveteen Dream retaining over Tyler Breeze. And Johnny Gargano retaining over Adam Cole. So now, let's talk about some news that I heard today. And I think a lot of people have heard about it. I've heard about this from Cultaholic. At least 10 wrestlers have inquired about their release from WWE. This stems off of the Jon Moxley Talk is Jericho coming out yesterday. Yesterday recording. I'm recording this on Thursday, the 29th? 30th. It's the 30th today. Here's an issue I have with it. Yes, if you're not happy somewhere, you should want to go. But let's say a bunch of wrestlers get their release at the same time. WWE does have the way to stockpile their roster. Yes, they have the way to restock it with all these great guys from NXT that could come to the main roster. But let's say all these wrestlers, a lot of the wrestlers leave. Some of the names that were thrown out were Apollo Crews, Bobby Roode, Killian Dane, Tyler Breeze, Gallows and Anderson, Rusev, and this last one surprised me, Shinsuke Nakamura. I thought Nakamura just re-signed. So if he just re-signed, why would he want to go now? And here's the thing. They're not all going to get jobs in All Elite Wrestling. AEW, if they signed every single person that just got released from WWE, their roster quickly becomes overstacked and oversaturated with talent. There would be so many wrestlers on that roster, they wouldn't know what to do with them. The same way WWE has so many wrestlers on their roster, they don't know what to do with them. All these wrestlers should not just say, I want to go to All Elite Wrestling right away. What they need to do is go other places. Apollo Crews could go back to Dragon Gate because he was fantastic over there as a part of, Monster, whatever they're called. As Monster Express with three very notable names with him. He had Ricochet, he had Akira Tozawa, and he had Shingo Takagi. Uhaa Nation or Apollo Crews could fit very well back into Dragon Gate and make a new stable and help form even bigger names. I think it would be big in New Japan because Apollo Crews just gets wrestling. And if I'm correct, he is at the right weight for junior heavyweight. For those that don't know, in New Japan, and I think all over the world, the real cruiserweight or junior heavyweight goal or weight is 220 pounds. They made a big deal about it because Shingo Takagi looks like he's over that weight. He's actually at 212, so he's well under. Nope, he's 240. Never mind. But Apollo Crews could be big in New Japan. Some other wrestlers, Shinsuke Nakamura has a history in New Japan. Bobby Roode would be good over there. I think Rusev would be great if he went to not All Elite Wrestling, but Ring of Honor. Imagine Rusev versus Jeff Cobb, Jay Lethal, Marty Scurll, Matt Taven, even Juice Robinson, Mark Haskins. Against those guys, you have guys who are very talented that could work very well with Rusev. But here's the thing. If everybody leaves WWE, it's not a guarantee they're going to be big. Shawn Spears, the former Tye Dillinger, still isn't signed to All Elite Wrestling at recording time. He could be. He still is good friends with, I believe it's Cody. And I know Luke Harper is friends with a different person, not Cody Rhodes. One of the other higher-ups, one of the people who work with Tony Khan for the Jaguars. But the thing is, the big question I had going into this was, why do they want their release? What is it that's making them want to leave the biggest wrestling company in the world? It all circled back to the same person. The same reason everybody wants to leave. Vince McMahon. Let's go back to Dragon Lee. Let's go back to Dean Ambrose. When he turned heel on Seth Rollins, they wanted him to take a jab at Roman Reigns because of his leukemia. Dean said, "No, I'm not doing this." There's no way. He went to Vince about it, and Vince said, but you're turning on both Seth and Roman. We need to keep Roman involved in the story. Dean eventually, I think, said that line. But there was a line that he would not say at all. It involved I still can't believe this is a thing. It involved a pooper scooper. Vince wanted him to say a line involving a pooper scooper. The people in charge in WWE, I shouldn't say that. The people in charge on the main roster do not know what they're doing. Vince McMahon does not know what's going on anymore. It's tough to say Stephanie, because the women's division has actually been one of the very good points recently in WWE. Aside from Charlotte winning the title every other month, the women's division has actually been very good and very fun to watch. And I keep saying this, you look at NXT. I wouldn't be surprised if he could do this. I wouldn't be surprised if Triple H distanced NXT from WWE and made NXT its own thing. Because you look at how successful NXT has been. Name a bad takeover. Name a arguably very bad takeover. There is none. There has always been a good to fantastic level takeover. Takeover has always delivered. There is no way that Triple H is not ready to run the main roster. Triple H can fix these issues, I think. There's a lot of issues. A lot of people are mad, and they're all mad at the same person. They're all mad at Vince. The only way to fix this is to put somebody else in charge, I think. You put somebody else in charge. You have them make the calls. You have them run the show. Look at 205 Live. Since Triple H took over, 205 Live has been the best thing about the main roster. You have guys who just get wrestling. You have Tony Nese, Mike Kanellis. You have, oh God, what are all their names? You have Akira Tozawa, Brian Kendrick, Drew Gulak. You have all these guys that just get it. And they're great. They're fantastic. They're in a garbage time slot. If they could move 205 Live to the Full Sail University or to somewhere else, tape episodes, and have it air before NXT. Here's how Wednesdays should work on the WWE Network. NXT UK, 205 Live, NXT. 3 hours of wrestling people would want to watch. You could enjoy that so much. There's so many good things going on with those shows right now. It's just that Vince McMahon doesn't get it. He's so out of touch. He doesn't understand what people like anymore. What people want is the match quality, the work rate, the things in the ring. We care about what's been put on in the ring. I could care less about a story. There's a reason New Japan stories work. They put the wrestling first. And any storytelling is in those matches. Let's take a look at the one that I think I can break down the easiest. Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada. These guys wrestled 4 times. At first, Kenny Omega won the G1 Climax. Everyone was like, wait, Kenny Omega won the G1 Climax? Nobody knows who this guy really is. We don't know how good he is. He's got a guaranteed championship match at the Tokyo Dome, at the biggest event in New Japan's year. He goes out and steals the show. He shows everybody, I'm this good. I can go with your top guy. There is no way that I am not ready to take the spot. And then everyone's like, oh my God, we all are fully behind Kenny Omega. There is no way we cannot get behind this guy. All the fans love Kenny from that point on. And then he goes against Okada at Dominion. He and Okada go to the 60-minute time limit draw. This is Omega saying, what do I have to do to beat this guy? How can I beat Kazuchika Okada to win the IWGP Championship? What do I have to do? And this is Okada essentially saying, there's no way you can beat me. I am too good for you to beat. They fast forward to the G1. They're both put in the same block. 30-minute time limit compared to 60 minutes. Kenny Omega beats Kazuchika Okada in the non-title match. Now Kenny knows how to beat him. Kenny understands this. He knows that he can beat Kazuchika Okada. So you fast forward to Dominion the next year. These two don't touch for a whole year. You have Wrestling Dontaku, you have Wrestle Kingdom, you have King of Pro Wrestling, you have all these events. They don't even touch each other. And then at Dominion, Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada, 2 out of 3 falls, no time limit. Winner is the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. Kenny Omega goes down 0-1. That's Okada saying, see, even with your best moves, with the One-Winged Angel, you can't beat me. Omega has to regroup. He regroups. He says, okay, let's start over. Hit the reset button, essentially, and let's go to work to get these 2 falls. He gets those 2 falls back to back. Kenny Omega is your new IWGP champion. This is storytelling at its finest. You have a guy who is chasing a championship, who thinks he can beat this guy. He eventually knows he can beat this guy, and he finally beats the guy. If you can take away all the crap backstage segments, all the garbage promos that we see, aside from Firefly Funhouse and anything Sami Zayn, Samoa Joe, The Miz, anything those guys say, throw AJ Styles in there too. If you take away all the crap segments besides those guys, and you have the match tell the story itself, then you're looking at something good. Then you have a future. This is what Triple H has done with NXT. He has made it so you can see just how well these guys stand out. The high points for these guys, essentially. This is him saying, we can do all of this. We know how to do this. I know how to do this. Vince gives you pooper scooper lines. He gives you the same guys on the top. Let's look at the people who have been on the top. You've had Roman Reigns, been on the top since the Shield breakup. Brock Lesnar, been on the top since he returned. To a lesser extent now, a very lesser extent, John Cena was on top for years. And now I kind of put him in this category. I hate that I'm doing this. It's AJ Styles. He's always in the main events. You always see AJ Styles. That's not a bad thing for the fans. We love AJ Styles. But it's just, you have nobody else. You have all the same guys at the top. People want to see new faces. People want to see new things. They don't want to see the same 4, 6, 8 guys. They want to see guys like Ali, Ben Balor, Andrade, Drew McIntyre. They want to see all these guys break through and become the next big stars for this company that we know they can be. Drew McIntyre killed it on the UK independent scene. Fergal Devitt was fantastic in New Japan and Ireland. Ali was great on 205 Live, and Andrade killed it in Mexico, wherever he went. We know just how good these guys can be. We know that they are main event level guys, and that they should be in the main event. But yet, we're not getting that. It's annoying. We need to see these guys get that chance, get that opportunity. With Tyler Breeze going back to NXT, he's getting that opportunity. He's getting a chance against Velveteen Dream to show just how good he is. And right now, from all I've heard, Killian Dane and Leo Rush are back in that category. Those are 2 guys who have asked for their release. I know Leo Rush has for a fact. And I'm pretty sure Alexander Wolf, he might not have said release, but he kind of teased maybe leaving. He's gone to NXT UK and Imperium, and he has looked great. He looks fantastic. He looks like he belongs alongside of Walter. When Alexander Wolf, who was not a guy I'd taken serious for 3 to 4 years with Sanity, is next to the UK champion, a 6'7", 300+ pound guy who can chop your chest off. He looks like he belongs. You're doing something right in just a 5-minute segment. And Alexander looks like he belongs with the UK champion. It just makes sense to me. You have a guy who gets wrestling. It's not, and people have said this with All Elite Wrestling, it's going to be the inmates running the asylum. No, it's not. It's going to be people who understand this stuff. Cody understands it. Billy Gunn used to make the calls for WWE. He understands it. You have guys who understand pro wrestling running the companies. It makes sense. There's a reason why New Japan has been so good. And everyone says, oh, Gato's horrible in the ring. Gato's not great. No, but he gets how it works in the ring. And yeah, Harold Maya, people have said Harold Maya is not the best, but I think you look at now, you don't hear people complaining with New Japan as much. So Harold Maya might have taken a back step and said, okay, I want to talk to the wrestlers. And this is what maybe you could do if you're WWE management outside of Triple H right now. You take the wrestlers. You get all the wrestlers in a room, essentially. And you have Vince get into the front and say, okay, what do you want? What can we do with you guys to make this better? How can we improve our product? We want your input. And just have the wrestlers say what they feel. Have them say what they actually want to see change, what they would rather have instead, what could be better. That's how you would fix this whole issue. You need the wrestlers' input. You need it. Because if you have an unhappy customer, here's how things go at my work, where I work. I'm the assistant manager in a department at my job. My department manager and I, we get along fantastically. If we have issues, we talk to each other and say, how can we fix this? How can we make this better? What should we do? We don't just sit there and say, oh, well, this is how it is now. Great. We don't do that. We work together to make things better. We take an opportunity and actually talk to each other. We don't just sit there with our heads up our own asses like, this is fine. No, it's not. Vince, take your head out of your own ass. Your shit does not smell that good. Take your head out of your ass. Listen to your fans. Listen to your wrestlers. This is a problem. You need change. You can't keep the same formula from the 1980s. You have to change it up. And you have to do it soon, or else you're not going to be the best wrestling company anymore. You're not going to be the number one company in everybody's eyes. To me, you're already number two. To me, New Japan is a lot better than WWE. And everybody's saying, oh, this person should go to All Elite Wrestling. This person should go to All Elite Wrestling. There's plenty of spots in New Japan. There's so many opportunities there. Even if you just go to Japan, you could wrestle for New Japan, Pro Wrestling Noah, All Japan Wrestling. There's so many promotions in Japan that I can't even think of half of them right now. Dragon Gate. There's so many opportunities all around the world. You go to Mexico, you go to the UK, you go anywhere, you get all of these opportunities. You have a thriving wrestling world. It's not just WWE or bust anymore. You can make a living in Japan, Mexico, All Elite Wrestling, the UK. You could probably make a living wrestling in China. I don't know how big the market is in China for pro wrestling. You could probably make a living there doing it, though. This is the time that wrestling thrived. This is the time that you look at pro wrestling and say, there is nowhere you can't go and become a star. You can become a star anywhere and everywhere. This is a boom period for pro wrestling, period. We are looking at the best pro wrestling period in a long time. I am very excited going forward. I want to see what can WWE do. What does AEW do when they get their TV deal underway? What's next for New Japan? How's the G1 going to work? What's World Tag League going to look like? Who's going to become the next big name? You just made Jay White. Who else? How is Ring of Honor going to improve? What's next for Rev Pro with a lot of their representation now in New Japan? Can CMLL become a big thing? Can we see another company come out of nowhere and just be like, hey, we're a big pro wrestling deal now? It's a great period for pro wrestling. We should just all be along for the ride and love it. This is the pro wrestling we have wanted to see for so long, and we're getting it. We should take the opportunity, sit back, and enjoy. We all love pro wrestling. It's thriving. Just sit back, enjoy. Don't take a side. Just watch the product. Okay, now that little mini rant's over. That's all the time I got for now. Thank you guys so much for listening. I know this one went on for a lot longer than I anticipated. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at TrueSolider. You can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. Thank you guys. Next week, we will be back with the Takeover review. We will have Dominion picks and anything else that happens in the pro wrestling world. I'm Ben Hersick, and thank you for listening.